Thank you very much. Just a little break of techniques to plug my computer. So great, it worked. So hello everyone. Today I would like to talk about how to make your LLM serverless. So as introduction, I'm a Google developer expert, so I will talk about a lot about Google Cloud today, but the concept and principle are also applicable on other cloud provider or even on-prem. So today's agenda is the following. I will start to present what is Mystic Computing, because most of the time you have a lot of mysterious stuff around computing. Then I would like to share my passion, and I'm a very fan of video games, so it will be great to talk about it. But I would like to go outside and to talk about a trail in the Andes. And finally, I will talk about the weather, because we have a long weekend this week, and the weather is great. So let's just jump into the first topic. What is Mystic Computing? Mystic Computing is something like this. In fact, with an application, web applications, mobile or whatever, that's floating in the air. It's quite mystic and mysterious. And all the other stuff, the physical stuff like the server, are totally useless. That's the serverless computing. And not, in fact, not. It's not serverless. Serverless is not running applications without the servers. Is running the applications without worrying about the servers. And I'm sure all of you know the share responsibility models of the cloud providers. And in fact, it's only the matter of who is packaging, serving, setup, upgrading, and so on, the servers. But in the end, the servers are still in place to run your applications. And on Google Cloud, because I'm a big fan of Google Cloud, my favorite serverless services is Cloud Run. With Cloud Run, you can run serverless container in serverless way. That means you have nothing to provision, nothing to install, nothing to configure. Only take your container, deploy it, and run it. It's pretty magic. It will also scale automatically with your traffic. It's scaled to 0. If you have no query, no workload, nothing to do is scaled to 0. And if you have two query, you have one instance or two. If you have a lot of requests, you have a lot of instances. And of course, you pay as you use it. If you have nothing, you pay nothing. If you have a lot of instances, you pay a lot. And you pay only when you need it. That's the great concept of the project. If you are Azure developer, I'm sure you have Azure Container Instance. I think that's the name of the service, very similar to Cloud Run. And on AWS, I don't know what the equivalence of Cloud Run. So that was for the serverless part. So now serverless is okay. Now my best part of the session is video game, because I like the video games. And 20 years ago, during my study, I would like to become a video game developer. And today, I'm simply a cloud engineer and not a video game developer. Why? Because in video games, you have a lot of images, a lot of curve, a lot of motions, a lot of mathematics. And I'm not good in mathematics. That's why I'm not a video game developer. But I learned some concepts that I would like to share with you here. In fact, in the 3D environment, you have dots in the space. It's named vertex or vertices, if you have a mini vertex. And you need to have the referential. Referential in the 3D environment is XYZ. I'm sure you know it. And to represent it in a computer, you need to have this XYZ in a vector or an array. It's the same thing with this value XYZ here. And mathematicians added a 1 at the bottom, and I will explain just why. So that's a vector that represents your shape, the position of your shape, of your, I don't know, your dot, your light, or whatever. Then to have an animation, to move your object, your shape in the screen, you need to perform some transformation on this vector. You need to translate it, you need to rotate it, or you need to scale up or down this stuff. And to do this, you will multiply this vector by a 4x4 matrix. That's why the one in the bottom of the vector. And for example, the translation is latest column where you use the new position of your vector. For the scaling is the diagonal that you can use. And for the rotation, you have this kind of matrix. And the power of mathematics here is you can combine the translation, the rotation, and the scaling in only one 4x4 matrix, and to perform only one vector matrix multiplication to apply this transformation in only one operation. That's the magic of mathematics. But for a 3D scene, it's not enough. You have the shape, but you need something more. You need the light and the light effects. And how do you compute the light in video games? In fact, you have this, you have a shape and you have a light source, and you are sending a light ray from the light source to the shape. And according to the reflection angle with the shape, you have a full reflection or you have no reflection. And to calculate these alignments between the light source and the reflection, you are performing a scalar product. So that's the mathematical value. If you have 0, that you are perpendicular, so you have no light. And if you have a positive value, of course, you have a reflection with a range, with a shade of value. So I'm speaking about this, but why I'm saying that? Because in fact, no, before this, I would like to recap what the mathematics behind the two concepts, vector matrix multiplications and the scalar product. A school reminder may be for you, but for me, yes. So what are you doing when you are performing matrix vector multiplication? In fact, you are performing only multiplications and additions. You can see it here. And when you are performing a scalar product, same thing, only multiplications and additions. And in a 3D environment, 3D scene, in the video games, you have, I don't know, 60 images per second, or maybe 100, 120 images per second, and you need to perform this kind of computations millions, billions, trillions of time per second. And today, a CPU is useless for this, and you need a dedicated hardware. And you need the magic of GPUs that are massively parallel and able to perform these multiplications and additions at scale massively and massively. And especially NVIDIA and AMD are great for this. And why I'm saying this for LLMs? So here the parallel with LLMs are the following. When you are thinking about LLMs, how do you interact with your LLMs? First of all, you are using a prompt. Okay, this is a prompt. But it's not only a prompt, in fact. Here, for a computer, is an array of bytes. But an array of bytes is meaningless for the computer. So what will do your LLMs? First step is to tokenize your prompt. And you have something like this. Yes, you have an array of token. But again, in each part of this array or vector, you have an array of bytes. Again, it's meaningless for the LLM. And the LLM will replace every value by something. It's a token to value. It's an array of value, in fact. And you have this, an array like this. You have a vector of token value. In fact, a vector of array is a matrix. And then when you have a computation in your LLM and so on, as output, you can have an embeddings. What's an embeddings? It's also a vector because you have a vector database, you have a vector search, you have vector something. So you have, again, an array as output. And here you can feel that you have vector and matrix usage in the LLM, as you have in the video game. But it's not only that. Only this. If I deep dive in the neural network here, I'm sure you know this kind of schema here where you have a lot of neurons and connections between the neurons. And here, just before going deeper, a word of vocabulary. What's the parameters of LLMs? The parameters of LLMs are the connections between the neurons. More you have connections, more you have parameters. That's the metrics of the LLMs. So if I zoom into a neuron, what I have? During the training phase, in fact, you are training your neural neuron. What's a training? In fact, a training is you are fine-tuning, you have changing the parameters of the neuron. What's the parameters in a neuron? It's only an array, a vector of values that represents the role, the function of the neuron. And every neuron has a different value here. And what the neuron take as input, it take a vector of token as input. So here you have a vector, the input of the neuron, and the parameter of the neuron. And to check if you have an alignment between the configurations of the neurons and the inputs, you are performing a scalar product, get a value. This value, you have an activation function in the neuron. Most of the time is a ReLU function that you can use here. And the output of this function is the output of your neuron and the input of the other one. So, in fact, if I summarize here, you have a similarity between video games and LLMs. In video games, you have vectors and matrix multiplications, and you have also scalar products for the light effects. And in LLMs, you have tokenization and embeddings for the matrix vector multiplications, and you have also the neuron alignment and activations when you are using the scalar products. And that's why GPUs are very, very useful when you are using LLMs, because the concepts and the mathematical tools and functions are the same in video games and LLMs. And the good thing is, now with Cloud Run, you can use GPUs and NVIDIA GPUs with Cloud Run. So you have a service, a cloud services in Cloud Run. Now it's in GA since last month. You can use Cloud Run, scale to 0, and have GPUs on demand and scale with your traffic. I have a demo for you just after. So finally, video games are great, but I would like to go outside because it's better. And what I discovered in the Andes. In fact, I discovered a city, a strange city here with buildings like this, with Jima, with Mistral, with Yama, and Oyama in the front. But no, I'm sorry. I didn't find another better representation to introduce Oyama, in fact. Oyama, I'm sure you know it. It's a Swiss knife tool for LLMs. You can run open source LLM. It could be the raw model, Jima, Llama, Mistral, or the fine-tuned model. So it's a huge variety of open source models that you can use with Oyama. Oyama is also very convenient because it has an adaptive runtime. I mean, you have the same container, you run the container. If Oyama detects automatically GPU and compatible drivers, it will load the LLM directly on the GPU. If it's not compliant, it will load the LLM on the CPU and the memory. Of course, the performances won't be the same, but you don't have to customize, to set some parameters and to tune it. No, automatically Oyama detects it, and you have nothing to do to do it. So it's very convenient when you want to test locally your container and then to deploy it on VMs or services or environment with GPUs. You have nothing to change, only deploy the exact same container in the end. It's also open source. If you want to use it, to contribute it, maybe fix it, you can do it. And finally, it's secure. So it's not secure because Oyama is the most secure tool of the world. It's secure because you can run your own LLM on your own hardware, on your own servers. You don't rely on external services like OpenAI, Google, Microsoft, and sometimes you don't want to send your sensitive data to external services and external company, and you want to keep your data internal. That's why, by design, it's secure, because you can do this thanks to Oyama and do this easily. So great. Now the last part, the weather. And again, I'm sorry, I didn't find any other better introduction to talk about the cloud than to talk about bad weather with a bad and a dark cloud here. And I would like to mix all the components together with Oyama, serverless, and video games. And what I have as outputs, I have this. I have Cloud Run, of course, on Google Cloud with GPUs, with NVIDIA. And on the software part, I have Oyama and I loaded Jima model on it. So I have the infrastructure part and the software part. And here I have a demo for you to show you how it works. So here, let me click on it. And yeah, I'm connected, no problem. Yes, test it again. Yes. Yes, okay. It's beginners. So on the right-hand side, I have my container deployed with the GPU. On the left-hand side, I have the container deployed without GPU, and I can enter a prompt here just to start my service. Remember, Cloudrun scaled to 0. So now I have no instance deployed on Cloudrun, and I will ask something very short and very easy. Tell me one. It's useless, but it's just to start the containers. So when you are starting Cloudrun with GPUs, you need to start the instance. Then you need to Google need to attach the GPU to the instance, to load the drivers, and then to load your container. When you start your container, Oyama need to load the LLM on your GPU, and then you can serve the request. So it takes about, yes, 20, 25 seconds here when you start from 0 to Cloudrun to serve the first request. And here, without the GPU, it's much more slower, and sometimes it fails. So, okay, it worked. 41 seconds, perfect. Why sometimes it failed? Because I use the default parameter of Oyama, and if you don't have any answer from the LLM after 30 seconds, Oyama has a timeout and you have an error. We see that just after. So now I've started from 0 to 1. I have one instance up and running. The instance is warm. I can ask something, again, useless. Tell me to, okay? And this time it's much more faster because the LLM and the GPU is started. It takes about, yes, 1 second and a half, and it's about 10 times more, yes, 10 seconds for the CPU version. So you have exactly the same container that performs the pretty same answer. Of course, it's not really the same, but yeah, it's great. Now I can also ask something more complex, and you will see that the version without GPU can't work. I will ask why the sky is blue. And this time the question is much more complex and need to answer more. Oh, it's too fast. 4 seconds, usually is about 15 seconds. 4 seconds is really impossible. I wasn't expected that. And here I expect a timeout after 30 seconds because it's too slow on a CPU. Or maybe I will have a surprise this time. Yes, timeout. Okay, after 30 seconds, as promised, CPU are too slow. So here, Cloudrun GPU could be useful to save answer in 2 to 4 seconds. Wait, just go back to the presentation. So now, of course, no solution is perfect, and sometimes Cloudrun with GPU will match your use case, and sometimes not. For me, it's a good solution if you need, for example, to have no over provisioning. And for me, the way to have this kind of green IT and to have and to save the planet, not to use hardware when you don't need it, to save money, also save energy. So it's very interesting for me. Also, it scales automatically with your traffic. You have nothing, no traffic, no request, you have no instances. If you need one, you start one. If you need many, you can. It's also very easy to use. In fact, you have nothing to install, nothing to provision. The driver and the GPUs are attached automatically to the instance, and it works natively out of the box. But it's not perfect. Not perfect. Why? Because I show you that you have a cold start. Sometimes it starts is slow to start. It takes about 15, 20, 25 seconds to serve the first query, and for some use cases, it's not acceptable. It's also you have also some limitations in terms of region on Google Cloud. You have at least you have every continent on the world covered, but one or two regions per continent because GPUs are very scarce. It's difficult to have a lot of GPUs everywhere on the world in the world. So you have only few regions available on Google Cloud. And you have also limitations in terms of GPU available. Only NVIDIA L4 are available right now, maybe more in the future, but you don't have the choice of GPU right now. So for some use cases, it could be perfect, for others not. I would like to take an example at Carrefour. We have a team, an HR team that answer a question of employees about their work conditions, their right and duty, in fact, in the company. If you are in sick leave, if you got married, if you got a baby, what you have to do with the company. You have to send a letter, send an email to whom. So you have some questions. And so 1 year ago, Carrefour developed a chatbot named Askia to answer these kind of questions. So you can imagine that this chatbot is not very used during the night and the weekend. It's more used during the working hour. Of course, if you have a baby during the weekend, you can ask the chatbot, but it's not so often. You can also imagine that many questions shared with this chatbot are very personal and professional and maybe sensitive about your marriage, maybe some divorce, maybe some baby or disease, I don't know. But you have some confidential information that you don't want to share with external entities like Google, Microsoft, or OpenAI. So you need this kind of solutions to be able to host your own LLM internally at Carrefour and to be able to shut down during the night or the weekend automatically. And if your internal employees has an answer after 20 or 25 seconds, it's not a problem because today the HR employees answer in 2 or 3 days. So it's much better than today. But it's true for this use case. I will never put this kind of solutions right now in front of my e-commerce websites with millions of users and users that would like to have answers in 1 or 2 seconds. It's not done for this. So you have to select the right use case for this solution here, for this service here. So just in conclusion here, I invite you to try it on Google Cloud. I've written an article that I shared just after. I'm sure it takes about 15 or 30 minutes to test it. It will be very easy to test, and maybe it's for you the first step to move to serverless LLM and maybe to adopt this kind of solution and this green IT solution. So thank you for your attention. I will share my slides on Twitter or LinkedIn, and you will have this article link here. You can find it also on the internet. I would like to thank you. I can answer your questions also on remote in LinkedIn or Twitter, or answer you now in the room. Thank you very much for your attention.
Oh, hello. Cold start is mentioned as a drawback. So, are there any recommended patterns, like warming strategies or preloading, to reduce latency for production-grade LLM deployments on Cloud Run?
Yes. You can, in fact, Cloud Run has a cold start with or without GPU. So the cold start is a common pattern and sometimes issue for some use case. What you can do if you know that, in fact, Cloud Run reacts on HTTP request. If you send an HTTP request, Cloud Run will try to dispatch this request to an instance. If you have no instance, Cloud Run will spawn an instance to answer this request. So if you know that your employees or your service is used from 8 a.m., you can start to schedule an HTTP request at, I don't know, 7:50 or something like this, just 10 minutes before, to be sure that your instance is already up and running, and when your traffic is coming, you can use it because the instance is warm. But again, when you have a lot of requests and Cloudrun need to scale to one instance to another one, again, the scale up will take 20 seconds because you need to start another instance. And again, every time that you need to add one instance, the cold start will be to pay because you have to do it.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's not magic, but if you can't predict your traffic, of course, you have something to tweak. If you can't predict it, it's a magic to scale automatically, but yeah, no magic. You need to pay something and to pay the latency at the first start.
Okay, thank you.
Cloud Run versus Kubernetes directly, like GKE, as your like decision to be like the compute substrate?
It's a very easy question because I'm a developer initially. I'm not a system admin or a network admin. And personally, I'm very bad at managing the VM, the servers, and GKE. It's not my world. My world is to build a container, to ship the container, and do nothing. It's run magically. That's why for me, it's much more easier to use Cloudrun than GKE. In addition, with Cloudrun, as I said, you don't have to provision in advance the VM and the GPU. If you have a GKE cluster, you will have a node pool with GPUs, and you can start your instance on your node with GPUs, but this node is dedicated to your cluster, and you will pay for it. So that's why I like the way to use only the resources when you need it and not to provision them in advance. Okay, no questions? Yeah, maybe one.
Are there any mechanisms in place to autoscale GPU instance based on LLM workload demand?
When you talk about LLM daemon, it's what? It's a batch? It's a...
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yes, I know it's not in GA. So with Cloudrun, you have different way to use it. In serverless, you have the HTTP request and services. Excuse me, it's my computer. I will cut the sound here. Yes. No. Work like this. Yes. Yeah, with Cloudrun, you can use it as HTTP services. So you can send HTTP request and it answer your request and scale automatically to 0. You have also Cloudrun jobs when you can run jobs and you can attach GPU to your jobs. For example, every night you can run jobs with one or multiple instances and maybe to fine tune some models during the night with GPU. But this time it's more batch jobs, and you need to schedule it during the night. It's not about night or the day, so you need to schedule it at a precise time. But it won't answer some user questions and user interactions. And for Cloudrun jobs, the GPUs are not yet in GA. It's only in Cloudrun services. That means when you have HTTP request. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your question.